Hi, my name is Noah. And if there's one thing I've learned the hard way, it's that love doesn't end with a breakup. It ends when the part of you that still believes in people finally gives up. I met Emily when I was 23. She was the kind of person who made silence feel comfortable, the kind of person you could sit beside for hours and not need to say a word. We met at a local art exhibit downtown. She was sketching one of the pieces, and I asked if I could take a picture of her drawing because it looked better than the actual painting. She laughed. I still remember that sound, soft, unguarded. That was the first moment I felt it. That spark people write novels about but never experience for real. For 3 years, it felt like something rare. We built a small life together, an apartment that always smelled like her vanilla candles, lazy Sunday mornings, movie nights on the couch. I wasn't rich, but I worked hard. She was a photographer, and I loved seeing the world through her lens. She once told me, "I love how you look at me like you've already forgiven everything I haven't done yet." At the time, I thought it was romantic. Later, I realized it was a warning. It started small. Late replies, locked phone, sudden work trips. She said she was building her portfolio, that she needed to travel more, meet clients, expand. I believed her. I wanted to. But you can feel when something changes. The small details betray people, not the big lies, but the tiny ones. The way her tone shifted when she said my name. The way she started sleeping on the edge of the bed. I tried to talk to her once. She cried before I even said anything, told me she was just stressed. I hugged her, told her it was okay, that I trusted her. That word trust, it used to feel sacred. Now it just tastes like rust. One night she came home late. Her camera bag was gone, her perfume was different, and she avoided my eyes like they might burn her. I didn't confront her that night. I just memorized the way she looked, her makeup slightly smudged, her smile trembling. That was the moment I knew I'd lost her. But knowing isn't the same as accepting. Acceptance comes later, after the hope finally dies. 2 weeks later, I found the proof. It wasn't even hard. Her iCloud was still logged in on my laptop. A photo notification popped up while I was working. I wasn't trying to snoop, but curiosity isn't always a choice. Sometimes it's a survival instinct. It was a picture of her lying in bed, not our bed. Next to her was a man I recognized immediately. Ryan, my coworker, my friend. We'd gone to college together. I helped him move last year. He was at our apartment for dinner 2 months ago. He shook my hand, told me how lucky I was to have her. I remember thinking the same thing about him, about how loyal he seemed. My hands started shaking. I didn't even realize I'd been holding my breath until my lungs started to burn. I wanted to scream, break something, go find him right then. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling my heartbeat echo inside my head like a drum. That's when something inside me broke quietly, like glass cracking under pressure. I wasn't angry yet. I was empty. "Hi, my name is Noah," and I finally stopped pretending everything was fine the night I saw her phone light up with his name. It was 11:37 p.m. She was in the shower. I wasn't even looking for it, but it buzzed against the table, Ryan's speech balloon. "Same time tomorrow." No punctuation, no hesitation, just routine. My body moved before my mind did. I picked up the phone, opened the messages, and read everything. There it was, month of secrets. Hotel rooms, excuses, jokes about me, pictures I couldn't unsee. You ever feel your world collapse but stay perfectly still? Like every cell in your body is screaming but you can't make a sound. That's what betrayal feels like. Not fire, not fury. Vacuum. When she came out, towel wrapped around her, humming some song like nothing was wrong, I looked at her and thought, this is the same person I said forever to. I didn't yell, didn't throw the phone, didn't cry. I just asked, "Who's Ryan?" She froze. For a second her face broke. That's how I knew she didn't have a plan for this moment. She tried to lie to build a story on the spot. I watched her do it, watched the panic crawl up her neck. Then she started crying. She kept saying it didn't mean anything. But everything means something when it's built on a lie. She begged me to talk, said we could fix it, said she was lost, confused, scared of commitment, scared of being loved too much. You ever hear excuses that sound like apologies? That's what they were, empty words dressed up like guilt. I walked out that night. I didn't take anything, just my keys and my jacket. She followed me down the hall barefoot, crying. Her voice cracked when she said, "Please don't do something stupid." But she had already done it for both of us. People think revenge starts the moment you get hurt. It doesn't. It starts in the silence that follows, when everyone thinks you've moved on but you're just collecting pieces of your own heart and wondering which ones can still cut. I stopped going to work for a few days. Ryan texted me once, "Bro, can we talk?" I didn't reply. I couldn't. The sound of his name made my jaw clench so hard it hurt. I started running every night, miles, until my lungs burned. It didn't help. You can't outrun betrayal. It's faster than blood. A week later, I saw them together. At the same cafe Emily and I used to go to every Sunday morning. Same corner table, same smiles. She laughed the way she used to with me, head tilted back, eyes closed. That laugh wasn't hers anymore. It belonged to him. I stood outside for a long time, watching through the window, my reflection staring back at me like a ghost. That's when I decided. Revenge wasn't about hurting them, it was about balance, about taking back the weight they dropped on me. I didn't know what I'd do yet, but I knew it had to be final. I spent days planning, not to fight, not to expose them, but to make sure they'd never forget what they took from me. Ryan had a weakness, greed. He was charming, confident, and reckless, always chasing something bigger. At work, he'd been bragging about some new side hustle, freelance consulting, big money clients. I knew it was sketchy. I also knew how to use it. I still had access to one of his project servers, a favor he'd asked me for months ago. So I set up a dummy client under a fake name. I made it look real, a full website, company profile, legitimate inquiries. I sent him a message offering him a contract worth 10 grand all under the table. He took the bait in a day. Over the next week, I sent him fake documents, NDAs, contracts, client data, all traced to an encrypted drive with a single flaw I built in, metadata that pointed back to his real company's confidential files. It didn't take long. His company's legal department found out. Internal investigation, accusations of theft, suspension. When he called me that night, panicking, begging for help, I almost laughed. "Bro, I don't know what to tell you," I said, keeping my voice calm. "You probably shouldn't mix business and pleasure." He went silent. He knew. And Emily, she called me 2 days later, not to apologize, to scream. Said I'd ruined his life, said I was vindictive. I told her I was just returning what she gave me, nothing. Then I hung up. For the first time in months, I felt calm. But it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that hums, the kind that waits for something worse. "Hi, my name is Noah," and revenge felt good for exactly 27 hours. That's how long it took before the guilt showed up, quiet at first, like a whisper you try to ignore. I told myself they deserved it. I told myself I just taught them a lesson. But when you destroy someone, even someone who wronged you, part of that destruction sticks to your hands. Ryan was fired. Word spread fast. His name got blacklisted in the industry. The star employee was suddenly radioactive. I saw the fallout online, the same LinkedIn he used to flex on. Now it was full of silence. And Emily, she tried to stand by him, but her loyalty cracked under the pressure. Friends stopped talking to her. People whispered. Her parents found out. Everything they'd built on lies collapsed. I should have felt triumphant, but instead I just felt empty. You know that feeling after an argument when you say everything you've ever wanted to say and it still doesn't make you feel better? That was it, just magnified. I wanted to unfeel it, to go back to before the phone buzzed, before I knew. But you can't unlearn betrayal. And you can't undo revenge. 3 weeks later, Emily showed up at my door. I hadn't seen her since that night. She looked exhausted, eyes red, hands trembling. She didn't ask to come in, she just stood there clutching her jacket. She said, "You ruined my life." And I said, "You ruined mine first." She didn't deny it. She didn't cry this time either. She just looked hollow, like both of us had been living on fumes since the moment everything burned. She asked why I did it. I told her the truth, because you made me feel like nothing, and I needed you to understand what that felt like. There was a long pause. Then she said quietly, "You won't feel better, not really." She was right. Before she left, she turned around and said something that's stuck in my head ever since. Revenge doesn't fix betrayal. It just makes two people haunted instead of one. That night I couldn't sleep. I just kept hearing her voice over and over, like an echo that wouldn't fade. I opened my laptop and went through every step of what I'd done, the fake company, the files, the messages. I deleted everything. But the problem with revenge is it doesn't live on a hard drive. It lives in memory. And memory doesn't have a delete key. Months passed. I moved out of the city. New job, smaller apartment, different air. But no matter how far I went, the story followed. People remembered, people whispered. Ryan tried to rebuild, but his name was poisoned. Emily left social media completely. And me, I kept my distance from everyone. I told myself I wanted peace, but the truth was I didn't trust anyone anymore. Sometimes I'd wake up from dreams where I was back in that apartment, the phone buzzing, her laughter echoing from another room. Sometimes in those dreams, I never picked up the phone. Those are the good nights. One day, out of nowhere, I got an email. No subject line, just one sentence. "You got what you wanted. Are you happy now?" It was from Ryan. I didn't reply, I couldn't. Because if I was honest, no, I wasn't happy. I was just done. Revenge doesn't feel like fire when it's over. It feels like ashes, quiet, soft, and everywhere. You think you're building closure, but all you're really doing is building a tomb for the version of yourself that used to believe in love. I see her sometimes, not in person, in flashes, a song on the radio, the smell of her perfume when someone walks past. For half a second, I remember what it felt like to trust. Then I remember what it cost me. "Hi, my name is Noah. I don't believe in revenge anymore." Not because it's wrong, but because it's never enough. You can destroy someone's life, and it won't rebuild yours. You can expose their lies, but it won't make them tell the truth. You can win and still lose everything that mattered. Love, betrayal, revenge, they're not separate stories. They're a single thread pulling tighter until something snaps. And when it does, you don't get to pick which part of yourself breaks with it. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I just walked away, really walked away. Not in anger, but in peace. But peace doesn't come easy to people like me. People who feel everything like a storm and mistake destruction for closure. If you're reading this and you've been betrayed, don't do what I did. Don't let the wound turn into a weapon. Because when the smoke clears, you'll realize you were aiming at yourself the whole time.